Welcome in everyone to another edition of the CORECAST. And today have a super special guest. He's our first football player on the podcast today. So we're honored to have him. He's a redshirt sophomore and he's the quarterback at Penn State, Will Levis. Thanks so much for coming on.
No problem, Mike. Excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. And I want to just start from the beginning. What kind of kid were you like growing up? What's your comic book origin number one? How'd you even get into football to begin with?
I think getting into football wasn't really a choice of mine, just considered my family background, but they didn't really force me into it. But just seeing my dad play Division III football at Denison University in Ohio, and then on my mom's side of the family, her father coached football at Yale, and her brother played football at Yale. So just always being around my family and just having football around my life, it was kind of a no-brainer that I was going to play football as soon as I could, and strapped on the pads the first time as a fourth grader. Tried out every position probably possible. I mean, it was a running back, linebacker, receiver, and then eventually landed at quarterback. That was going to be my position around the 8th grade year. And obviously worked out pretty well. Continued to play through high school and then got a great opportunity to come here to Penn State to play ball here. And it's been a dream come true.
That's awesome. And you mentioned that you're from a very athletic family. So did you play any other sports growing up, or was it for you, you found football and you said, that's going to be my sport?
I played a bunch of sports growing up. I kind of tried everything that I could, but I think that the core three that I kind of stayed with were basketball, football, baseball. But it was interesting, actually. I mean, my mom, I have 3 sisters. My parents have 4 children, and my mom was a big-time soccer player at Yale. And none of us decided to play soccer, which was kind of interesting to think about. But I mean, obviously she wants us to do what we want to do, and each of us kind of found our own sport. We're a family of athletes. I mean, my sister is a freshman now at Central Connecticut. She plays lacrosse there.
Nice.
I also played lacrosse when I was younger, lacrosse and baseball during the same season, just kind of those two kind of polar opposite sports, but I love both of them, and stuck with both of them until I got to high school. And basketball was always a huge sport for me. I mean, I think it's probably the most demanding in terms of just conditioning and physically demanding sport out there, and that's what I always liked about it. And I still play pickup to this day, whenever I can. And in high school too, just I ran track, even though I hate running, but just to get faster and just become a better athlete, and that really helped me too. And that was a great experience as well. But yeah, I've tried out a bunch of sports, and I've learned a lot from all of them, and I've enjoyed every moment of all of them.
And you alluded to something there, and I think it's something that we talk to a lot of the athletes on. I feel like every athlete we talk to this point, they always start with, I played this sport and this is my sport, but I played a whole bunch of other sports growing up. We had the one I always talk about is we had a guy who got drafted in the 4th round by the Carolina Hurricanes in the summer, but in the spring before that, he was hitting 400 and playing shortstop for his high school baseball team. So a lot of different crossovers. Do you feel like playing a lot of those different sports growing up made you a better quarterback or really just a better football player?
Yeah, for sure. I think that one thing that is kind of dying right now in terms of kids getting recruited and just high school athletics in general is that I think there's a lot of specialization. And that's kind of one thing that I decided that I wasn't going to kind of fall into until I got to my junior year, where that's where football was the only varsity sport that I was going to play. But I mean, playing baseball throughout high school until that year was really, really beneficial for me. And I just think that even though you're not maybe going to be getting as much time to focus on that one sport that you think is your sport, you're going to get just as much benefits from playing these other sports and what these other sports have to offer as well. So I think that's one thing that kind of gets overlooked these days. And I think that a lot of kids are kind of starting to decide what sport's going to be their sport really, really early and then sticking to that. But if I had a suggestion for any kind of younger listeners, it would just to be play what you love and just realize that every sport that you play is going to give you certain gifts, and just to cherish them and to kind of play all of them as long as you can.
I absolutely love that. And now I'm going to totally go against that. I'm going to go sports specific because it takes a special kind of person to play quarterback. It's probably the coolest job in all of sports, the coolest position in all of sports. you mentioned you tried a lot of different ones. Why did you ultimately settle on quarterback? Why did you settle on that over, all of the other ones that you had used and you had tried really?
I mean, just besides having like the physical attributes that a quarterback has to have. I mean, I had a good arm. I mean, I could run the ball well, which are just two things that are demanded of quarterbacks these days. I just like being a leader, and I mean, leadership qualities have been something that I've kind of seen in myself since I was a kid, and I'm a huge competitor, and just I think that the quarterback being kind of the quintessential position in football was something that I really aimed towards to be the best I could be at. And I mean, I was going to play any position that I was going to be the best at. I mean, if I in eighth grade saw that I was a better DB or linebacker than I was quarterback, I was going to end up playing that. But I mean, what the coaches saw out of me and what I believed in myself, is that I was going to be a quarterback, and I just stuck with it. But yeah, I mean, I think that my competitive nature definitely has a big thing to do with it. Just being in control and having that kind of built-in kind of leadership, just necessities that a quarterback has is something that I enjoyed, and it's a lot of responsibility, but I enjoy the responsibility.
That's awesome. Can you think of any like story or moment when you're like, okay, you're like, this is it. I've done a lot, but like, it's this moment right here, which is like, this is ground zero for me being a quarterback.
I think in like seventh grade, it was like I was still playing running back, and I think our quarterback on our team got hurt,
Mhm.
and I had to step in and I was like a wildcat quarterback, and so
Nice.
I got the snap, and I was calling the snap count, and I was doing whatever, like telling people what to do and stuff on the field, and I was like, wow, like this suits me, like I think I could be good at this, so kind of jumped at it, and from there on, kind of decided that that's the position that I wanted to kind of focus on, and yeah, I guess that's just when it really sparked my interest.
That's really cool. I love the Wildcat reference, by the way. I think that's 100% that's one of the coolest things I think anyone said on the pod. So I 100% get that. And like I said, it's turned out well for you because you've had a lot of success, and that decision to be a quarterback, it's paid off easily. You're vindicated on all that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like I said, I mean, played all the positions that I could, like growing up, and I think that in the back of my mind that being the quarterback and just being like the guy on the team. I mean, everyone knows the name of their quarterback, and so
Mhm.
that's just something that I always kind of at least aimed for and had in the back of my mind, and I'm glad that it ended up the way that it was.
That's awesome. And you had a really great high school career. And I want you to kind of take me inside the recruiting process for you a little bit. Why did you ultimately, land on Penn State? Obviously, super talented in high school, could have gone to a lot of places, but what made Penn State the spot for you?
Yeah, this is a question. I mean, I get a lot, and I think that there's a lot of different kind of parts to answering it, and just one is that not I don't know if a lot of people understand kind of how the high school college football recruiting process takes place, but it happens pretty early. I mean, you see kids getting offers to schools as early as their freshman, sophomore years, and
Yeah.
committing early as well. And a quarterback, especially traditionally, commits pretty early. So I mean, uh, I didn't really get recruited highly until I was after my junior year, and that's when I started getting like the Power Five offers. Before then, I had like some Ivy League offers and some smaller schools. So I kind of took a more non-traditional approach in terms of getting those like FCS schools, and then kind of climbing up until I got to the big time schools. Um, I think that summer after my junior year, I think Iowa was the first Power Five school to offer me, and then just a bunch kind of rolled in after that. And a lot what was weird was that a lot of these Power Five schools, I'd say probably 50% of them at the time already had commits for quarterbacks. Sorry, and so obviously at that time those schools weren't even an option for me. They couldn't even offer me because most schools don't take two quarterbacks in one recruiting class. And Penn State was a school that I'd visited in the past. I'd just gone there as like a freshman and a sophomore to camp and to just to visit and to check it out. We had some connections there just to go and kind of check it out. And it was just a place where I really felt like I could see myself thrive, and just the community around me, the coaches, the people in general just made me feel comfortable with where I was at. And what was disappointing is that they actually had a quarterback commit when I did started getting these offers, and I was like, oh, whatever. I mean, I got a bunch of other options, but Penn State was always like that one school. I would travel to all these other schools and get offers and camp at these other schools, but I never really felt the way that I did at Penn State. And it just so happened that Penn State's quarterback decommitted and went to a different school and opened up a spot for quarterback. And then they brought me down to camp there and offered me. And I committed right on the spot just because I knew that ultimately that's where I wanted to end up. And it was just a right time, right place type of deal. So the cards just fell in my favor, and I'm glad that they did.
Totally. And then, you bring up an interesting point. You talk about, a lot of kids are getting offered, it seems like early and early, you can always, check Twitter and it's like, oh, someone in, middle school got, a soft offer or something like that. And it's totally different. And then for you mentioned, had a little bit of a different path. Do you feel like that different path, gave you a little bit of an edge as a quarterback? Did it, fuel that competitive fire for you? Take me inside a little bit of that, less than traditional path you described.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I think that just the biggest thing for me, and just being the competitor that I was, I mean, I'm from Connecticut, and Connecticut's not really a kind of hotbed for recruiting. So I think that I had to kind of just scratch and claw a bit more than a lot of other kids did that needed to, that were from like kind of higher touted areas. But what really fueled me was that I was going to a bunch of these camps, whether it was like showcases or like college camps, and I was competing with dudes who had already had 5, 10, 15 offers from big time schools. And I'd always try to kind of place myself right next to them, or go before them in drills or right after them, whatever, just to show like the coaches like, hey, like I'm just as good as this guy, if not better. Why don't you look at me? If this kid's getting all this attention, why shouldn't I? So that's something that really fueled me and just drove me, and ultimately paid off, because I think those experiences just made me better. And overall, I ended up in the place where I wanted to be, which so obviously the plan worked out.
100%. It totally didn't. And I want to talk a little bit about your playing time at Penn State. And I want to take you to August 31st against Idaho. This is the first time you made an appearance as a quarterback. What was that like? Was it just the coolest thing in the world to be able to roll onto the field and just start to play some ball?
Yeah, I mean, my freshman year I redshirted, so I didn't see the field at all my true freshman year. But it's cool enough just to run out onto the field, like when before the game starts or whatever, and we're running out there, and just seeing all the fans and seeing how crazy everyone's going, especially like for the whiteout game. That's one thing. But then to actually go out on the field and take a snap and play in an actual game and contribute and show up in the box score, that's another feeling as well. So I mean, it was definitely really exciting, that first experience for me. But I mean, I'd had a whole year of preparation, and I'd been pretty comfortable with the offense and where I was as a player. So I didn't really think twice about it. I mean, obviously, I think a lot of guys can connect with the feeling of just that first play, like the butterflies you get, but then after that, it kind of just wipes away. And that's what I felt with my experience. I mean, I think that first play out there, that first hit I took, kind of just wiped away any kind of nerves that I had, and then I was just out there playing ball. And that's as simple as it is. I mean, it's a great feeling when you go out into a football field and you feel like it's just you and the ball, and you kind of just let things flow. So if you prepare and you do everything necessary to kind of get yourself ready for a game, then it's going to lead to confidence. And I had a year of kind of mentally preparing myself for that. So I'm glad that I was able to take advantage of it once I got out in the field.
Exactly. And I think the mental preparation it's something that, in all the athletes we've talked to, that's something they just keep stressing every time. It's so much of a mental game. And obviously there are physical elements of it. You need to have physical attributes and different skills, but a lot of it is mental. What was a lot of that mental preparation like for you while you were, redshirting your true freshman year? What are you doing? What are the things you are doing so that when you do get on the field, you're able to, like you said, just kind of click right in instantly?
The best piece of advice I ever got at Penn State was like my first training camp, being like the fourth guy on the depth chart. Trace McSorley, our starting quarterback there. I mean, Penn State, he'll be whatever, a Hall of Famer there or whatever. But he made it clear to everyone in the room that every single day, no matter if you're the first string or the fifth string, you have to prepare as if you're the starting quarterback. And I took that to heart, and I approached every meeting, every practice, every lift, every run, everything as if I was the starting quarterback, not just some other guy, because you never know when your opportunity is going to come, and you better not screw it up when it does come up, because you might not get it again. So that's something I've continued to do to this day. Something I will continue to do as long as I play football, and that's the biggest thing that I've strategy I use mentally to kind of just make sure that I'm ready for whatever is put in front of me.
Totally. And you did a little bit of the work for me there, so I appreciate that. You're really leading into this next question really well. Obviously, we have a little bit of a bias towards training, being a company that absolutely is all about it. How has your training evolved? I mean, that's something, obviously, mentally you can watch a lot of film and do a lot of the things a quarterback's supposed to do, but from a training standpoint, how has that evolved from, the first time you set on campus, to today?
Yeah, so we have in terms of like our lifting program, there are different tiers to it. And so getting in as a freshman, everyone's in tier 1, and that's just like building a really big, like a strong base. And it's a lot more kind of your traditional kind of lifts, and focusing on just like sheer, just like size, speed, and just athleticism. And then once you get to a place where they feel like you are just in a good spot for your position, because like obviously being a quarterback, I don't have to be benching 400 pounds. I don't have to be squatting 600 pounds. So, I mean, once I got to a good base where they thought like for my body type, for where I was, I'm good, they'll move you up a tier. And that's where they're focusing more on kind of not necessarily maintaining, but not putting on like serious gains, but putting on gains while also focusing on like smaller kind of mobility training or stuff like that.
Totally.
Where, smaller things that you can start focusing on once you have that solid base. And then guys can move into tier 3, which is where I am right now, which is even more kind of relaxed. It's obviously still, you're going to get a lot out of the workouts, but you're not squatting 2-3 times a week like you might have as a freshman. So I mean, I trust the strength staff with everything they do. Obviously, they've had great success with a lot of players in the past with the combine and everything like that. So everything that we do, I trust, and I know that it's for our good, and it's just going to make us the best players as possible we can be on the field.
Totally. And I think you bring up a great point with kind of the added mobility stuff. That's something, again, the more, you kind of talk to people, it is so much about that. And obviously for a position like quarterback as well, where, not only do you have to be mobile in a sense that, you have to be able to move around in the pocket, but your body has to have mobility as well. And you have to be able to, have some flexibility, be able to, absorb a hit. It's just such a huge part of, not only football, but sports in general.
Exactly. Yeah. Stretching and just mobility is something that I've taken a lot more seriously this past year. I've gotten into doing yoga. I've gotten into just regularly stretching and just taking care of my body, because I mean, we always use the analogy, like our sports scientists and our like performance trainers always use the analogy of like our body as a car, and everyone's body is a car, but us being athletes, you got to treat yours like a supercar. And how like you don't want to just put that regular gasoline in you. You want to be using that super fine, whatever you need to use to make sure you can perform at the highest level. Your engine's built a little different than other people, so obviously it needs more attention than the normal person. So that's an analogy I like to use, and that's something that I can always keep in the back of my head, where I'm like, hey, like, is this food or is this drink suitable for what I want to kind of achieve? And it kind of keeps it pretty black and white that way. And at the same time, not only nutrition, but just recovery and maintenance with my body. Everyone's going to get some little bumps and bruises here playing football, and just the best way to just make sure that you bounce back from those and get stronger from them is to take the necessary precautions and steps to fix those. And that's what I do through either stretching before practice or getting in there for extra treatment in the training room to just kind of look at certain things in my body that I might think need some little improvements here and there. but it's just you're always fine tuning. You're always looking for things and feeling things. I mean, it's your body. Obviously, you feel it better and know it better than anyone else. And you kind of just got to trust what you feel and know that you should take any steps necessary to make sure that you're running at tip-top shape whenever you can.
I love that analogy of us being a supercar. I think that's, just the coolest analogy. That's definitely something that, even though I'm myself not a supercar, definitely going to be thinking about going forward with my own kind of stuff that I do. And now I want to kind of talk a little bit about kind of your game, your skills as a quarterback. Coming as a true freshman, how have things, improved? What are things you've been working on? What's that evolution been like? Because I have to imagine being, with that coaching staff and being in such a great, quarterback room, you've picked up on a lot of different things.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing has just been my mental improvements, and just in high school, honestly, I couldn't really tell you how I was reading a defense, and that's something that when I got to college, like I had all the physical attributes, but just mentally, I wasn't where I needed to be a starting quarterback on a college football team. So that first year, the biggest thing for me was just learning and understanding how to recognize and kind of dissect coverages and why certain plays work against certain coverages and where to expect or maybe bet on where a ball should go against certain looks. And since that was all pretty new to me, it was something that I really had to dive into. And I'm a pretty fast learner, so I'm glad that I had that full year to kind of work on that. But that's something that I'm always improving on to this day, and something I can always look to Sean or all the other quarterbacks to kind of touch on and kind of feed off of each other. But I'd say just that, and just my mental approach to the game in terms of taking everything one play at a time, and just being able to kind of bounce back from moments that maybe you didn't really want to happen. You just got to understand that all those moments are going to happen. As a freshman, I was a little more immature. Like I might have made a bad throw or something and let it affect me for like that next whole series or whatever. But this biggest thing for me this year has just been able to let the past happen and kind of move on and just treat each play like a new play and just go 1-0 on every play. And just that mindset, that mental kind of approach that I take to it has just made me a much better player, I think.
That's awesome. And I'm curious to kind of learn and understand, as you talk about, learning how to read defenses and being someone who's a quick learner. What is that learning process like? Is it just drilling film? Are you looking at film and then, sketching something out on a board? Or how are you picking that kind of stuff up so quickly and really learning a lot of that so quickly? What have been some things that have worked for you?
I think the biggest thing to learn is kind of to be guided by either a coach or another player. I mean, I spend a lot of time in the film room, obviously with our Coach Ronnie last year and then Coach Shiraka this year. They both have different coaching styles and strategies, but I've been able to learn different ways from each of them as to how to approach studying, because it's one thing to watch film, but it's another thing to watch film and really know what you're looking for and like
Totally.
watch a whole game and learn nothing from it other than the final score. But you got to figure out basically what you're looking for, what the situation is, why this coverage is this way, why are they in a 3-down or a 4-down front, or why we're running this scheme versus another scheme. And it's hard to explain kind of how I've been able to learn how to do that. But I'd say the biggest reason I've been able to is just through my coaches and them, what they've had to teach me, as well as my teammates who have had different ways to do it on their own that have passed them on to me as well.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. And now I'm going to kind of shift into something different. Obviously, the preparation this summer, training in a quarantine is tough. What were some things that you were doing to, not only, stay in shape, but get stronger and work on your off-season goals? What were you doing, kind of while things were, just closed down in general to stay in shape?
Yeah. So we were sent a lifting program from our strength coaches, but it was kind of understood that a lot of people weren't going to be able to have access to kind of full gyms. Luckily, I was someone who did have access to one of them. We had a buddy who lived near us who had like this like big barn with just a bunch of racks and weights and stuff. So I was able to take advantage of that. And then on top of that, the local like turf fields were open, so I was able to go there and get my runs in as well. So they sent us like running programs. So that was kind of like uh, the kind of like bare necessities of kind of what I needed to do to kind of stay in shape over the time that I had back home. But on top of that, I was reaching out to local receivers and other athletes in the area that might go to different schools, even some older high schoolers, just to get together whenever I could to throw the ball with them and to kind of teach them and kind of walk through with them kind of how our plays work. And that was huge for me to kind of learn because we had a new offense going in, and I think the best way to learn something or to understand something better is to teach it. And for me to be able to kind of teach like all these fresh minds who have never heard about the plays of the playbook and explain how certain routes are run or like what the schemes are and like what the route combinations should look like and how they should time up, that helped me a lot. And then on top of that, I made an effort once a week or so to go up to Massachusetts and meet up with a couple of my teammates who live there, tight end Pat Fryermuth and receiver Jaden Doughton. And we were able to meet up at least about once a week and then, again, work on the schemes that we've been talking about with our coaches throughout the week because throughout the whole quarantine process, we were still doing Zoom meetings and meetings with all of our coaches and the team to go over film and just going over like the playbook and stuff. So to be able to apply that to on the field work was really valuable.
I love that. And I guess one of the kind of the follow-up questions I am always so interested to ask people is, obviously quarantine, the pandemic in general forced a lot of people to get creative with their training and do a lot of different things. Is there anything that maybe you found like, okay, like, I would not normally do this, for my training, only in this scenario, am I really doing it? But I liked it so much that I'm actually going to pull this forward and incorporate this, permanently. Was there any, kind of training routine or aspect of that where you're like, okay, this is actually something I learned and I'm going to do this now going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I did that I started doing over the extra time I had during quarantine, which I mentioned earlier, was yoga. And something that I got introduced to me when I was doing track in high school that I did a little bit and I really enjoyed, but I never really got too into it. But it got to the point where I even went on Amazon, bought myself like a yoga mat and was making like
Nice.
scheduled kind of just literally just putting on a YouTube video and just following different series and just getting better that way. And it's just a different way to kind of challenge yourself and your body. And I'm always looking for different ways to do that. But there's all different kinds of yoga that I've learned about. And whether it's just stretching after like a run or getting in an hour long like power yoga session that's going to make you sweat and just get all nice and just exhausted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to kind of explore that and how understand how my body works and feeling like how different body parts feel and why it might be tighter in a certain area than another and noticing it and then working on that. Going back to what I said about just like knowing your body and kind of seeing what it needs, that helped a lot. And overall just made me mentally and physically kind of a better person.
Totally. And I got a couple more questions and we'll move on to the rapid fire, which I'm really excited. I think we've got some good rapid fire questions for you. But the first thing I want to ask, and this is, something I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask this, but last year you got in against Ohio State, huge rival, for your team, just a huge, conference rival. You played incredibly. Take me inside that first kind of huddle. You talked about always being prepared, always being ready. Now you're being called upon to, in enemy territory, go up against, an Ohio State team that made the college football playoff. What's that first huddle like? Take me inside of that. What were you saying and how did you get yourself ready to perform?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the main driver for confidence is preparation and being able to go into practice every day and prepare as if I was the starting quarterback and holding down that job and just competing that way allowed me to kind of jump into that situation and not be too overwhelmed. But I mean, in a situation like that, kind of being my first time playing in a game like that at in those stakes, obviously I was a little nervous at first, and just went in there. I think I ran the ball the first play again, got hit, everything kind of just washed away, and like I said before, it was kind of just like it was me out there just going with the flow, just trusting what my eyes saw and just playing and. Some things went my way, some things didn't, but I just kind of understand and learn from it and just go play by play and was able to put some scores together. And obviously the game didn't turn out the way we wanted it to, but it was a good learning experience, and something I'm very grateful for.
Totally. And like you said, it's, I love kind of the thing that you keep bringing up of like, you go in there, you get hit once, everything kind of just normalizes, you're back to normal, and you start playing football. But I just, as far as incredible stories, I thought it was just one that, you're called upon to do something. And not only did you, perform where you're supposed to be, but you performed at an incredibly high level. And like you said, obviously the results didn't go your way, but, definitely showed that all that preparation that you were doing, it means something, and it made a huge impact on the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I'm going to go out there and play the same way, whether it's Ohio State or any other opponent. But like you said, I mean, I'm glad that I was able to go out there and at least perform for my team and just do my best and make a game out of it. And it was great kind of feeling the support from all of my teammates and everyone there, and being in an atmosphere like that and being on TV, going back the day after, kind of watching the highlights, it was kind of surreal. And just seeing my dad after the game and just seeing how proud he was of me. I mean, it just kind of goes to show just kind of how a lot of my hard work is starting to pay off. And just it was motivation to just get better because obviously we didn't get the result that we wanted to in the game, but it went to show that I'm getting there and I'm getting better, and that it's only up from here. So that was just a good kind of starting process for me, and was kind of just an eye opener.
And you talked about watching the game afterwards, and Gus Johnson is one of my absolute favorite college football announcers, and obviously he was calling that game. Was it kind of cool to hear him, shout you out a couple of times? I think he might have called you Will the Thrill. I don't know if that was exactly the case, but was that, something where you're like, okay, like that's kind of cool, but also at the same time, we're back to work right now where we got another game to prepare for?
Yeah, Gus Johnson, a voice that I've heard since I was a kid on TV, just such an iconic kind of commentator. I didn't even know that he was doing the game that day, and then the next day when I was like watching the highlights or whatever and seeing that clip when he called me that was really cool. And it just like, I mean, it's cool to kind of see it in that moment, enjoy it for that second, and then kind of move on from it. Like I said,
Totally.
You don't want to dwell in the past too much or revel in successes of the past. You just got to keep moving forward and go 1-0 in the next kind of endeavor that you're taking place in. And that's just what I did.
Exactly. And I think that's the exact right attitude to have. And got one more question for you, then we'll move to the rapid fire. Obviously, your guys' season is back on. What are you most excited about this season? What are you looking forward to? Obviously, great to, be back out with your teammates, have a season. What's the thing you're most looking forward to, with your guys, with your team?
Winning. I think just winning. I mean, winning's fun. Winning's awesome. Losing sucks. And kind of seeing where all your hard work is kind of culminated to, and that it's hasn't gone to waste. And that ultimately comes with the final scoreboard of whatever game you're playing. And I've mentioned that 1-0 attitude that we have, but Indiana's the only thing we got in our mind right now. And just to go out there, do our best, and hopefully come out with a win. Just going to show that all of our work this whole offseason hasn't gone to waste, and that it's really paid off, and that we're going to take that attitude with us every single week. We're going to go in there with a positive mindset, just great work ethic, compete, and just making sure that we kind of don't leave anything out there. And ultimately, if you do come out with a win, it's a great feeling. If you lose, it sucks, but I'm definitely looking forward to getting on the field and playing some ball and getting some wins.
Awesome. I think that's the best answer. Like just winning. I love that. That's perfect. You hit it on the head. And we're going to go right into the rapid fire now. So with these, it's, 5 questions. They kind of just span a whole bunch of different things. You don't have to answer super, super quick. You can go as fast or as slow as you want. We just call it the rapid fire. And the first one, it's one we ask everyone. What's your favorite exercise or movement?
Power clean.
Nice.
Clean and just involves so many different parts of your body, and it's something that for my position and size that I'm also pretty good at, which has been something that I've been doing since has been a part of my training regimen since I was in high school, and something that I've really kind of taken pride in. But cleaning's awesome, and whether it's hand cleaning or power cleaning, it's something that I've always enjoyed doing.
That's a great answer. That's the first time we've had that, so I love that. Absolutely think that's great. This next one, We have a really great research department here. It's a research department of one. And I saw that you had on Twitter, we're talking about different colors of Gatorade.
Yeah.
And so I need to ask now, what's your favorite color of Gatorade and why is it your favorite color?
Well, it's yellow right now, just
Okay.
because kind of it's neutral and it goes with anything. And I think that I'd like to see the psychology behind it, but
Mhm.
I don't know if anyone else has seen the tweet, but I think I said something along the lines of younger kids like 10 and under, they like red Gatorade.
Yep.
And I think as a kid, for me, it was mostly because it was like forbidden because I wasn't able to drink like red dye stuff because it,
Yep.
excited or hopped up or whatever.
Yeah.
But and then that kind of transitioned into like the cool blue Gatorade when you're like, I don't know, 11 to like 16 or whatever.
Mhm.
But again, I don't know why, but I feel like the red and blue ones are just too sugary. And then when you're old enough to kind of realize that yellow is kind of a good like medium ground that works with anything. So if I'm going to get a Gatorade right now, it's probably going to be yellow.
Yellow. I love that answer. I think I saw that, by the way, and I was like, he's so right. I can't drink a red Gatorade right now because it is so sugary. It feels like it's corroding your teeth in your mouth. And then the blue is the exact same, but you go yellow, maybe mix in a little bit of orange. I don't know. Like that's
Yeah.
I think I saw that and I'm like, okay, now I got to ask. So you're 2 for 2 to this point. You've nailed it. This next one I want to know. So when you're not playing football, what are some other things you're interested in? What are some other hobbies you have? What are you doing when you take off your helmet and you take off the pads?
Just first and foremost, being in college and pursuing a degree. School is my other biggest time consumer. I'm in a pretty challenging major, and I'm looking to graduate in May and then starting a master's program after that.
Nice.
So that's just my biggest time consumer besides that. But other than that, just kind of after football and all school, I'm pretty exhausted, both mentally and physically. And I'd like to decompress and either watch a movie or play video games with my buddies. But a lot of my teammates and I play Call of Duty together, so that's fun. Looking forward to the next one coming out.
Nice.
Sweet, but only get maybe a couple hours every week to be able to sit down and play video games. But when I do, I cherish it because it's just a good time to socialize and be able to sit down and not worry about anything else. So that's always fun, and I enjoy doing that.
Cool. Well, that's a great answer. This next one, I'm really fascinated to get your thoughts on. So it can be you and 3 other quarterbacks from all time in a quarterback room. Who are the 3 other guys that you're picking to put in your quarterback room? It can be all time, any era, college, pro. Who are your 3 guys?
I'm trying to think. It's a pretty biased answer, but I think I'd definitely put Tom Brady in there.
Nice.
Being a Patriots fan my whole life and just seeing his kind of development and obviously the great things he's been able to do. That's one guy that I'd be able to learn from a lot. He's a definite for me. I think Drew Brees could be up there too. A lot of things that I've researched about him and learned from him that I've kind of implemented into my kind of strategic game planning and kind of preparation side of my game. So that'd be really cool. But I'm trying to think of like an old school guy too that I could throw in there. But I don't really, if I'm being honest, I don't really know many of them very well. But maybe I might put I'd say either Vic or I'm thinking even Lamar right now, just someone who's able to use their body in such a unique way that no other quarterbacks have really been able to do in the history of the league, and just understanding how they're able to kind of balance their elite arm and leg talent, and knowing when it's best to use either one. And obviously, I wouldn't be able to gain their athletic ability from them, but just to learn from them and to realize and to understand how they approach the quarterback position and how they were able to just dominate by doing it in such a different way that everyone else has would be really interesting. So those are a few guys that come to mind right now.
Oh, I absolutely love that. I think you got, obviously, the winning track records and all 3 of those guys, but you've got the elite legs in Lamar, the arm talent in Breeze, and then Brady just is he's
Winning.
He's the GOAT. He's winning. He's the GOAT. So he's the guy for that. So I think you aced it with that. You're 4 for 4. This last one is one that we ask everyone. We're just, our whole kind of reason for existence, we see is like just to build strength no matter what. And so we're always fascinated to learn what gives you strength. It can be anyone from family to friends to anything. What's the thing that gives you strength, that gets you excited to get out of bed, be a great student and then be a great athlete?
Yeah, I connect this to the question, like, what's your why? Like, why do you go out there? And the three things in my why are my faith in God, my family, and then my teammates. Just my family, just obviously because those are the people that have sacrificed so much to help me get where I am today, and I owe them the world for that. And then my teammates, because I owe them to give them my best in everything that I do, because I can let them down by not doing my best, whether it's maybe taking a play off, and at the very worst, like even someone getting hurt at my expense. I mean, it's something you always got to think about, and everyone kind of puts their body on the line every play. So it doesn't make sense to not give your all every play. So those are the three things that kind of get me out of the bed in the morning and help me to kind of continue working at the best pace that I possibly can.
That's awesome. Well, you nailed the rapid fire. This has been just an awesome interview. We're so excited to, not only, have you back playing football, but just, with everyone that comes on, we're fans for life of you. So we're going to be rooting you on, always, no matter what. And like I said, we're just grateful for your time, and we can't thank you enough for coming on the show.
No problem. It was great to be here. Thanks so much, Mike.